Hi there, this is Art and Such, and today I'm going to show you how to make a more organic variation of the diamond pattern in a macrame friendship bracelet. This can be done with, I would say, 6 or more threads. I'm using 10 colors, and for each of my colors I've doubled over a thread so that it's twice the length of my arm. If you want to have single threads and tie them in a knot singly, that's an option as well. Once you've got your threads cut, and any colors will do, you want to tie a knot to secure it. So this is around the finger, and it will come from under, over, and into that hole. That will make your knot. And then you'll want to anchor this. I'm going to use my ratty old cushion here because it's comfortable. I did try anchoring my piece to something else in my last video, but it didn't work out so well. So we're gonna go back to this. I know this will work. If you want to put this onto your jeans, your shoelaces, a pillow, whatever's comfortable should work. And the next thing, once you're at this point, you can pause and get yourself set up, is you'll want to separate your colors so that you have one of each on either side. And we're gonna ultimately set this up as a mirror image. You might notice my threads are a little bit uneven. I didn't measure them exactly. I've kind of estimated and made sure that they would be long enough. And yeah, so you'll have to decide for yourself how precise you want or need your threads to be. And because I've used 10 colors, I know that when I have 10 on each side and no two the same, that I'll have an even divide here. And this is a very symmetrical pattern, so everything you do on the left you will do on the right. And let's see what else we need here. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay. If you want to have your colors moving in a specific order, you can set that up now, or you can do this as you go. I think what I'll do is I'll find my longest threads and I'll start with them. Okay, so you can pick either side to begin with. This is gonna start the way a standard arrowhead would, with our rows moving inwards. I'll quickly review the basic knot and do a couple rows with you, and then we'll get into the pattern. Now, as I said, it's symmetrical, so if I'm starting with purple on the right, that will be the color I start with on the left. If you need to make a note of your order somewhere else, you can. You can also decide if you want to keep your colors close together. So if you have 2 pinks, you can keep them next to each other, or you might want to separate them and have less of that ombre effect. So I think I'm gonna do my purple over my pink. Oh, and I was gonna show you the knot here. Really quickly, you always do 2 knots of the thread over the other thread. You point the tail in the direction you want your thread to go. So here my purple is pointing to the left because I want to move it in towards the middle from the right. And we put the tail over, create a space, reach into that space and bring the tail under to the right, and carefully pull it up to the top while keeping it tight at the side. So that's one. I'll show you one more time. Tail goes over, we make that hole, reach through, pull through, and carefully bring it to the top and give it that pinch. You want to watch that the thread you're holding with your left hand, the one being threaded over, stays straight and down and doesn't flop out to the side, or you will have some problems. Okay, so now the purple has switched spots with the pink. We're going to bring it in, and I'm going to keep working it towards the middle until I've gone over all the threads. Now, another thing to bear in mind, if you're worried you're going to lose track of your order and maybe it's getting a little bit confusing here, you can also you can stop after each knot and repeat it on the other side. So if I wanted, I could do my purple over my pink, and then on the left, my purple over my pink, and continue that way, and that can help you track it if you're struggling with that. So 2 knots over each as we move towards the center. I'm probably going to have to put my feet over my pillow in a little bit just to clamp it down, but I'll try to keep them out of the way as long as I can here. Should also let you know I might take some breaks along the way and finish sections off camera, just so you don't have to sit here for 2 hours and watch me knot. When you are done the first side, you can push it out of the way or leave it where it is if you're comfortable with that. And we're going to repeat this from the left side going into the right. So I need to find my purple. That's my first knotting color. And on my right, I first knotted that over my lighter pink, or medium pink, hot pink. So those are the 2 I'm going to have ready. Now I've switched my hands. I'm holding this with my right hand, and with my left hand, let me just check that you can see me okay. Yep, okay. With my left hand, I'm going to push the tail of the purple over in towards the right. I create that space, reach through, pull the tail under, all the way to the side, and carefully bring it up, and repeat. And I'll try and follow the same pattern I did on the other side. So now I've got my whitish light pink here, and you're probably working with other different colors, that's fine. Okay, I'm pulling this to the side so I can follow the order that I'm seeing there. I need this maroon kind of color. Try and separate it out here a little bit better. Or maybe we'll just bring it under, that's fine. So those first 3 are done, and after you have done a couple of rows, it should be easier to locate the previously knotted, like to find and follow that color pattern order. This kind of salmon pink is next. If you've done any kind of arrowhead before, or you want to check a tutorial for that, that's exactly what we're doing for our kind of setup on this project here. You don't want to launch right into anything, or it's going to get, or it'll get lost in the starting process and hard to sort out later. So we're going to do a nice clean setup with a basic kind of design, and then we can build on it from there. I see green next. And blue and yellow. At this point, you should have your 2 purple threads in the very middle of the project. You can separate this all out back into sides if you choose. So right side, left side, 2 purples in the middle. And I'm gonna knot one of my purples over the other. You can knot it from the right to the left, or you can knot it from the left to the right because you're using the same color. It's really your choice. knot them together and switch it around. And we are back where we started. We're gonna repeat what we did. You can start on either side and we're gonna work into the middle. I'm gonna put my foot down to anchor this. I hope that's not too much in the way. It'll just make this run a little bit smoother. And you'll see as you do work through the first couple of rows, it will start off kind of pinched in and rounded, and it'll start to stretch out to broaden into a flatter piece, but this will take a couple of rows before you can see it. And once we've got a little more of a clear pattern showing, I'll bring the camera in a bit so you can see it better. And also, as I said, once you've done a couple of rows, the ordering will start to show up more clearly. It'll be easier to find and follow the direction that we're moving. And forgive me if I'm going a little bit faster. You can always go back, rewatch that first row. You might have more threads, more rows than I do. You might have fewer. That's all good. I want to do this thoroughly, give you the full piece, so and just bear with me and jump ahead if you are onto the next part before me. Now I would also say if you've got maybe 4 rows, 5 rows, it's probably an okay time to start launching into the pattern if you want to do all color, like all the colors. So in my case that would be 10 rows. That's your second option. I think that's what I'm gonna do. So right now I'm on row number 2. That means I've got 8 more before I start into my start moving the threads outwards again. We'll put it that way. Now my pinks are in the middle. I'm going to knot them together, nice and tight at the top. I don't know if you can see here. Maybe we'll move this in. There we are. There's a little piece of purple that's showing right there. If that happens, what you want to do is find the thread that's showing, pull it down, and press up, and that will correct it. Let me separate this back into the 2 sides again, and we'll ease it back. I think that's about where we were. Okay, I'm going to get my pinks, one on each side, and continue on to my 3rd row. You know, I'm thinking this part is going to take me a little bit longer to do, so maybe I will stop the camera for now. I've got a new computer, so I'm going to have to get a new video editing program. If you got any recommendations, please by all means let me know. But I'm expecting this video is going to have to be put together from pieces, and with that in mind, this is probably an okay place to show you what we've got and to put this on pause. So at this point, I've done the first 2 rows, and you can see that the light pink, I've done the one side coming in, and then I'm going to repeat that on the other side. And I will come back once I've got 10 of those rows done, and I'll show you the next part from there. Okay, so I've got my set of triangles or diagonals started here, not diagonals, arrowheads. And I guess that's our view. I'm going to give you 2 really fast tips and pointers as I try and do in all of my macrame videos. First of all, you can see the front side is a little bit rounded. The back side is more pixelated square. So if this is what you're looking at, your bracelet has probably switched around. You might need to undo and switch back. The second thing I want to note is if you ever think you've got a mistake, go to the last knot you did, put your fingernail underneath and pull down, and that will separate the knots there. If there are any things you've been troubleshooting that you'd like me to do a tutorial on, or patterns you'd like to see, please give me a shout. Otherwise, let's continue on. This next part will look familiar if you've done diamonds, basic fish, X and O pattern before, but I am going to add a little twist, so bear with me here. Choose a side to start on, and we're going to do a striped row in, but stop before you get to your middle piece. So in this case, the threads I have in the middle are yellow. I'm gonna knot up to there, starting from the outside pointing in, and then I'm gonna stop. Now actually, I was just thinking my first row was purple. If I wanted, yeah, you know what, I'm just gonna go with that. You might want to finish this last row on the color you started with. The yellow is the one that's gonna be the frame in my case for my diamond, that's what we'll call it there. But if you want it to be framed in purple, whichever one's in the middle is going to be the one that's going to stay on the outside of everything. This is okay though, like I said, it's organic, so I'm happy to let my colors switch around. If you want to have all of your pieces looking the same, then what you would do is copy the pattern exactly when you get to the start. But let's do this first, and then I'll show you what I mean. Let me anchor this down with my foot here. That way I can make the knots just a little more tight without worrying about pulling the pillow out of the way. Now what you will often see in a basic diamond is one of 2 things. The first thing that is typically done or often done would be this. You would get to that last thread before your center, and you would knot it in once and then turn your thread around, knot it out once. The second thing, and I'm choosing deliberately not to do that, I'm going to keep knotting it in towards the yellow and stop it. The other thing you'll see happen is all of the threads will be knotted in, one less, which is what we're going to do for now, but then they're not knotted further, like that's where they're left, and we are going to take that a step further. Just watch what I'm doing. It should come together here. So I've finished my purple, I've pushed that to the side. Now I'm going to take my next thread and knot it over the remaining 8, I think it should be. We're just going to keep counting this down until we're right at the side. So this is I guess the third color that I'm using in this pattern. And I'm going to stop it before my purple, which was the last thread I used to knot. Each of these is going to knot over 1 fewer threads. So my blue is the last one here. I'm going to stop it there, and now this cream one is going to knot onto all the way to the blue and stop there, just as my pink did. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 threads that are getting knotted over this time. throw that out of my way, and the next one will only have to knot over the remaining 5. So as I said, this probably looks familiar. We're gonna do something when we get through all of these. Actually going to give you one more option at the end of this row here. Some do a pinkish color here, salmony pink. Because for the last thread, so this one has 2 to go over. When you get down to the last 2 threads, you can knot this one in and then back, or straight in. I'm going to knot it straight in. Okay, let's bring this in again. So that's what we have at this point. And what we're going to do is, okay, I'll just see if I can do this on, keep it on camera. So I'm going to go to the 3rd knot from the side. Am I still on there? Sort of. That 3rd knot, and I'm going to knot it back out all the way to the end. And then I'll go to the 4th one and knot it back out all the way to the end. And we'll do that for all of them. Now, as I said, ordinarily for a diamond, what you would do at this point is take your middle thread and thread it straight out. Let's show you that again. This is traditionally what's done. We're not going to do that. We're going to leave that in the middle and knot back out to the side in the same order. So I'm going to find the 3rd thread from the right. Now I'm going to point the tail to the right and knot it out over each of these 2 threads here. This one keeps trying to split apart. And then we'll set it on the side on the right. And that looks like this. And now my next one is this salmony pink. I'm going to knot that back out all the way to the edge. And I'll continue doing this. It is going to make this stretch out, but that's what gives it a neat kind of flow, as I say. So this won't be quite as geometric as your traditional diamond pattern would be, but it comes out looking really cool. So I think that's kind of worth it. I can see that I cut some of these threads too short, so I'll be adding some on once I'm off camera again. I do show in some of my other videos the techniques for that if you want me to make a dedicated video for that correction, or again for anything else, please let me know. And I was looking at my list yesterday for rainbow loom requests. I'm kind of stumped on how to do some of those. If there are other things I haven't tried on rainbow loom that you'd like me to make an effort at, please make a note in the comment below, and comments below. I'll try and get on that soon. Yeah, like I said, I didn't really measure these so well. I approximated. That's okay. Not the worst thing. Now I think this is probably almost a good point to pause the video, complete the rest of this section, and then tune back in. Maybe I'll just get you started on the other side before I do. So this will take me 1 more minute here. I probably have about 3 more outward rows, and I'll show you what the left side looks like. And yes, there is going to be a very small little bit of a gap between the two sides, which I think comes out looking kind of cool as well. Looks like I've got 3 more here to go. You want to try and keep your knots reasonably tight here. And the last 2, this is my purple and then my yellow. You'll see what I mean right away about it being the frame here. So it's gonna come to the end, the yellow, and then it's gonna surround the part we'll be doing in the middle. I haven't done one of these in a while. Actually, I haven't been doing too many bracelets lately, aside from that last macrame piece that I have the video up for as of a couple of days back. It's been a busy and kind of kooky year. Okay, here's my yellow. This is the one that was at the middle. There's something very psychedelic looking about this kind of a pattern, and all the more reason why I'm just as happy to let the colors. I'm not sure what expression I'm looking for. That I'm happy to let them switch around and not follow the same pattern from set to set. I almost want to say like to let the colors bleed together, but that's not exactly what I mean, I don't think. Any rate, I got 2 more threads to knot over, and then I'll bring the camera in. I'll get you started on the other side, and then we'll take another camera break. Okay, so that's one side done. For the other, it's the same thing. So we'll be starting at the outside on the left. I'm going to knot that first thread in. That purple, I'm going to knot it until I reach the yellow and then stop. And I'll repeat that for, or let me put it another way. The thread before the yellow here is a blue. So I'm going to knot it until it's gone over the blue. And then I'll take my next one and knot it over the blue, and so forth until I'm out of threads there. And then I'll return and show you the next part. Okay, I'm back. I've got the left side done. So this is what you should have at this point. Okay, let's keep going. I'm going to move back just a little bit here. And what we're going to do is find the 2 threads that are in the middle. And they should be matching because we've been doing everything the same on both sides. I see here I've got 2 greens. So we want to knot them together. And I'm going to anchor this down again so I can do a nice firm knot, or double knot rather. Once more, when you're in the middle, it doesn't matter which one you're knotting with. You can start on the right or start on the left. We don't want to have a really big gap here though, so make sure that first knot is tight before you secure the second one. Switch their sides around. And we're going to do this basically the same thing we just did. So now we're starting in the middle. My thread on the outside is a yellow, so I won't go over that. I'm going to go over all of the threads up to that point. And after I've gone over my purple, which is the second from the side, then I will stop. Let me just see, are we still on camera here? Good. Okay, So my middle one is green. Gonna knot it tail pointed to the left 2 times over the next thread, which is blue. We'll continue doing this until we reach the end. You might even have guessed by now what's going to happen next in the pattern after this, but I'm going to keep going so you can see it come together. This is such an awkward angle. I'm used to holding my threads and my anchor more closely, like it's probably like 3 feet away from me right now, so I'm leaning over a bit. Normally I would probably have this right on the knee of my blue jeans, so that you don't have to stretch very much. It's more comfortable as a rule. Okay, so that green is on the side. Now I'm going to go back to the middle. I'm going to find the other green and I'm going to knot that out to the right side. And we'll stop when we get to the yellow and refrain from going over that last thread. This one's going to the right, so the tail will point to the right with each knot. I'll stay with you for the start of the next row, and then maybe we'll pause this again and I'll give you a chance to complete it on your own, and I'll do this from there off camera again. But let's go a little bit more here together. Okay, now we'll go back to the middle. We're finished with the 2 threads there. If we go back to the middle, you'll see on mine I have 2 blues sitting there. So now we'll repeat. I'm going to knot them together. Make sure that first one is pretty snug. And I'm going to knot it until I've knotted over that purple, which is now the 3rd from the edge, but I won't knot over the green or the yellow. And you really want to make sure these knots right near the center are staying fairly tight. And don't cut off your circulation pulling or rip your thread out, but just be cognizant that you want that section to stay kind of snug so that you don't end up with a lot of gaps or skewing. Last 3 on this side. You know what, maybe I will stay with you for this whole central part. Go back to the middle. We've got our blue. We're gonna knot it out to the right. If you feel like you got the hang, or for whatever reason you're ready for the next step, please feel free to jump forward through the video and I'll be with you soon. Or to pause and catch up if you've maybe got more threads or need a little more time on the knotting, that's fine as well. Just as I was saying with the side pieces, I'm back in the middle for my greens. More traditional diamond would often have, would either be at what we're doing, but your side threads would just come back in instead of reversing the direction of the ones we've already knotted, which is what we're going to do as we did on the sides. But sometimes those traditional diamonds will also bring the thread to the outside, and then show you here quickly. Sometimes a diamond bracelet will have you come to the last thread, or the next to last thread, and then knot once out and then once back so that it would keep in place and then return back in. But we're going to keep going it all the way to the edge, and this will cause everything to round its way out nice and long. You can see this kind of a bracelet moves fairly quickly. I'm not sure why that is, but I feel like you kind of get into the mode, the rhythm of a section, and once that section's done, it's spanned a pretty big amount of space. Okay, my next one's this salmony pink. You can see it kind of wants to pull loose there, so I'm gonna just do that very carefully, make sure it's nice and tight, especially on the first knot there in the center. What do we have? About 5 more rows after this, each one a little bit shorter than the last. So every time we have used a thread, we have one less thread to go over on either side. So you will find as you get further into one step, like one section of the pattern, it will start to move a little bit faster. Although the opposite is true when we start bringing our threads back in. Okay, blues. Almost there. I kind of like the way this is coming out with the colors I've chosen. It's giving me a bubblegum kind of feel because I've got this soft pastel blue and I've got some of these bright pinks. A lot of bright and light colors in here. I think it's fun sometimes just to throw random threads together and see what you get. I mean, sometimes I'm in the mood to have a pattern with lots of dark in it or with lots of contrast or something light, but for the most part you really can't go wrong. Like you could do orange and black and brown and purple, and in some cases those colors, like some situations those colors might not go well together, but I find with braceleting you really can't go wrong. You always get something interesting. Okay, we got about 3 more here, and as I said, each of these should be a little bit faster than the one before, and then I'll get you going on the next piece. Pause the camera and we'll actually be almost done the tutorial part of this. If you've got your basic knots down, this is not terribly difficult. This is not terribly difficult if you've done some braceleting before, but it looks really impressive. I guess I mean to say it's not crazy complicated, complex once you get the hang. There are patterns I've done where you really have to count your knots and your threads are are switching directions frequently. And I especially find patterns that aren't symmetrical. Those ones tend to be harder for me. I wonder if I could think back and name the hardest patterns I've done. I'm not sure. I'm not sure what they would be. I do remember one that was particularly tricky because every single knot was moving. It was a different thread, a different color, a different direction. It was a kind of checkered pattern, I think. So it would be as if you'd have to knot one to the right and then you'd have to go to the next one and knot it back to the left, and then, yeah, I'm not sure. It wasn't even a very large project, but I remember finding that one kind of frustrating. You might be able to see from there, and I'll hold this up for you soon. My bracelet's kind of curving inwards. Let me get to the middle and then I'll zoom in for you. Anyways, it's kind of curving in, pinching in on itself, and that has to do just with the tension of the knots. It's not terrible if that's happening. It's actually perfectly fine. I feel like these pinks are getting a little short now too. I'd have to see if I've got some more to add on. Uh-oh, I think I made a mistake. Let me have a look here. There's my blue here. Oh, I see what I did. Let me zoom in and I will show you. So remember I said you would stop after the purple here? It looks like on this side I kept going over the blue. So this is a good opportunity for me to show you a correction here. Basically, let me see, am I still on here? Basically that blue that you see sitting by my thumb should be on the outside, second or third from the side. And what I did is I knotted all of these threads over it. So here I'll zoom back a touch, make sure that you can see all of this. In this case, this isn't so bad. So what I need to do now is pull that blue, pull down on the thread that knotted over the blue, because they should all have stopped when I got to the blue and I kept going, which is my bad. But easy fix. Pull down from the back, loosen it up, separate. And I'll do that for each of the next threads until the blue is back where it's supposed to be. Should only take me 1 minute here. I'll give you another point. If for some reason your knots are so tight that you can't get your fingernail under, or you don't have a fingernail, you can use a safety pin to separate them. I would generally advise against that though if you can avoid it, because that might shred and weaken your threads. That's been my experience in the past. Okay, almost there. So yeah, I can see what I did is I went one knot, like I knotted over one thread too many as I was coming back to the outside here. But fortunately I have fingernails this week, so that's okay. Sometimes they're a little bit shorter. Today I can work with them. There. Last one. And right. Pink was in the middle here, needs to knot out onto the purple, and purple's together in the middle. This one's also getting short. Okay, there you have it so far, and now we're gonna look at the threads to the side of the middlemost threads. So in my case it's pink and pink, and we're going to knot them back in. So the pink is going to knot over the purple until it's back in the center, pointing the tail into the right to show which way I want it to go. And on the other side, take that pink, knotted in twice over the purple. Now my pinks are in the middle and I will knot them together. And then we're going to look for this next diamond top arch, which is the light pink. So that one will be to the left of the purple now, the purple which was in the middle, and we knot it back in. And you can kind of see how this is going to go. We're going to break in a minute and finish this section independently. On the other side, find that pale pink, knot it in, bring it to the middle, and knot the two of that color together. Okay, it looks like that now. I'm going to finish off this section and then I'll be back. Alright, so this is what we have at this point, and now you have a couple of options. You can restart the pattern right from the beginning with your 10 arrowheads and launch back in, repeat. That will give you exactly what you see here. The second option is to restart the pattern at, hold on, let's see, we'll zoom back a little bit. The second option is to restart the pattern here where your arrowhead's finished. The third option is to do a couple of rows of arrowhead and then launch back into this, and that will ensure that your colors change so that your yellow will no longer be the frame. You'll have another color coming through there. So it's up to you how you want to proceed from here. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to do one row of purple. Just arrowhead again, and I'll get you started here, and then I'm gonna pause this once more. So I'm gonna start with my purple on the outside, bring it in, I think you probably got the feel for this right now, by now, but I'll walk you to the next step, and then I'll show you what this is going to be like when it's all finished. And over the yellow here. Opposite side, I'm going to knot in my purple right until it reaches the middle. And then knot my purples together. Now, one consideration if you're deciding whether to repeat and duplicate is if, for example, your yellow thread or your outer thread is getting shorter, then you might want to make the next piece start with a different color, and that way you won't have to use as much of the yellow or stretch that out quite as much. Couple more knots here. And then I'm ready to launch back into the start of my pattern as it followed the earlier arrowheads. So what I'll be doing is starting at either side and knotting in until I reach the middle, which in my case is purple, and then stop before I get there. So I've got pink knotted in. Now let me give you a third alternative here, is if you don't want to have another circular diamond piece, you can repeat this section and then do upside down arrowheads, which I think I might do for the sake of just for the length that I'm looking at here. So I've reached the middle, but I'm going to stop before it goes over the center threads there. So I stopped before the purple. As I said, I'm gonna repeat this part of the pattern, and then I might do arrows going out to the side. So the same as this, the same as this, but starting at the center, going all the way out, knotted in the middle, go all the way out. And that's a nice way to finish this off as well. Okay, so I'll be back with the finished piece and we'll look at how to end it. So here what I've done is I started where we left off and I worked my way out from the middle to the edges, all the way to the edges, and the inverse or reverse of what we did at the top. Now if you want to finish it here you can. If you want to go into another cycle of this you can. Another option is if you want to kind of flatten this out, what we can do is, let me anchor this here. What we can do is continue from the middle, but this time I'm not going to go right to the edge. So let's see here. I'm gonna maybe go up to where this blue is. So let's say, you'll have to kind of feel this out depending on how wide your bracelet is. I'm gonna go over 1, 2, 3, maybe 4 from the center. And what this is going to do is it's going to even things out as we go. And on the other side I'll go out to the right 4 times. This is just to leave it with a flat edge. If this doesn't matter to you, you can go right on ahead to finishing off your bracelet. I think this is gonna look a little bit cleaner for mine now, so that's what I'll keep doing here. And on this next one, maybe we'll go up 3 times. Let's see here. So we'll knot the middle ones together. You can see those little lumps. That's where I had to add on some thread. I did find some of my threads ran short and I tried to keep the mess in the back, but yeah, best intentions and all that, sometimes it's still a little messy. Let's put this over 3 here. Okay. Side we'll do it over 3. If I was to keep going to the side or thereabouts, we would get that broadening all the way, and we want to start to kind of bring this together here. And this next one I'm gonna knot the middle 2 together, and then I'll probably knot it out once to either side, I'm thinking. And I'm gonna knot the middle 2 together. That looks like I need that on mine. Okay, so let's zoom it for you to see. This is what that bottom section looks like now. I've filled in that little space where it was a bit of an arch. And at this point, oops, this way. At this point you can braid your ends together. You can take a couple of threads and 1 or 2 threads and knot them over the whole piece like so. A third option would be, or you could take all of them take all the threads and knot it around tight as you did in the start. We'll do that a little more slowly so you can see. It's actually not a bad idea. So you would wrap it around your finger, all of the threads, and then bring it behind, back up, grab it and pull it through. So that's an option, which I might do. Third thing you can do is take a couple of threads from either side and do a sort of box knot here, I guess. So bring it under and over, and then this would come into the hole you've created. And that would be like so. And then you could do that a second time. So that's another option. I think I like the second choice there. I'm gonna do a nice tight knot, bring it over, and then carefully bring it down to the bottom. Now if you have a couple of threads that are sticking out, what you can do is try and find them in the bottom and give a tug to each of the threads until they fall into place. And if it's still a mess, then this might not be your best finishing option. Let's see if we can't tighten and tidy this up a little though. As I said, unfortunately I've got some of those little lumps where I had to add thread on. I don't like the way this is looking, so I'm gonna finish it off a different way. I'm also not gonna braid it on account of my knots where I had to add the threads on. I think that'll look a little bit messy, but maybe I'll do the third option myself. That's the laundry going in the background in case you're wondering there. I'm just making a mess here. Okay, let's turn it back to the front. I'm gonna use this method. I'll take 2 on each side. We're gonna go under, over, back through. And then from the left, under, over, back through. If there's another knot or strategy you want to use, by all means go for it. I think I'll do this a couple more times, and then we can trim, and this will be all done. I'll get the parts of this video together and get it posted for you as soon as I can. So hopefully you'll be seeing this not long after the time in which I'm making it. Okay, I think that's all right. Let me zoom it in for you one more time. Maybe we'll take it off the safety pin here and give it a trim so you get that full finished picture. You can decide how long you want the tail to be. I think I'm gonna go about 3 inches down, 4 inches down, and then I'm gonna chop off the lumpy parts. So this looks a little bit nicer. Hopefully you don't have any lumpy parts in yours. As I said, I didn't do a proper length measure here, so that's why some of these needed to be extended. Give you one more second, and then I'll show you the finished piece here. Alright, here, we'll hold it up for you. So there you have it. That's my bracelet tutorial for you for today. If you have any questions or would like to know how to make something else, please give me a note on the comments below. Alright, thank you for watching.